Hi everybody, I'm Richard Durishan. I'm with Training and Education here at Cycling Sports Group. We make Cannondales, GTs, and Schwinn's. Hopefully you're going to ride one of those on the AIDS Life Ride this year. We're going to talk today about what you need to change a flat when you're out on the road. And what I've got in front of me are some of the things that you need to carry with you while you're on your ride so that you can actually do that. So let's start at the top. We've got a saddlebag that goes under your saddle, and you're going to slide a whole bunch of stuff into here, and let me show you what some of that stuff is. Among the things you're going to need is a multi-tool. This has Allen keys and screwdrivers all folded into the back. It's small, it's compact, it's light. You can slide that right in here. You're also going to need tire levers. This is to help you wedge the tire off of the rim so you can get to the tube, pull the tube out, put a new tube in, put it back on. We're going to stick those in here. Right? I have 3 different pumps here in front of me. These are all pumps that come with clips to be mounted to the frame, or the middle pump I like because I just put it in my back jersey pocket. This Airspeed Max, pretty cool pump. You can clip it to the frame, but it's got things that you can flip out and actually use it as a foot pump. This Airspeed Plus, this is great. It also works with a CO2 cartridge, so you don't have to pump your tire up. You can just twist the CO2 cartridge in and bang, you've got a full tube. And this one is the Nitro. It's a kind of a mid-sized pump, works well, good air volume, and again, clips to the frame. It's a little big, but you could put it back in your back jersey pocket as well. Okay, what else do you need to carry with you? Well, you need a spare tube. I keep mine in one of these. And there's other things that I do. Tubes come in boxes. You want to take that tube out of the box. I coat mine with talcum powder, and then I wrap it in saran wrap. And I do that so that it's protected against, you know, if I do something silly like put a screwdriver in here or something sharp, I want a tube to come out of here uncut so that I can use it when I need it. I also carry some currency with me. That currency isn't so you can buy a latte. That currency is so that if your tire actually gets slashed, you're going to fold this bill up so that it goes between the tube and the slash in the tire, so that the tube doesn't bulge out of the tire when you fill that up. All right then, so let's look at how we change a flat. I'm going to use the rear tire, the rear wheel, because it's more difficult to get on and off the bike. There are some specific things you can do to make it easier for that to happen. So let's start there. Say you've got a flat on the rear tire. As you're slowing down, what you want to do is shift to your smallest cog and the inner ring. You want to do that because that gives you the most chain to play with to get this thing off the bike and then get it back on. Okay, so once we've shifted and we're stopping and we're off the bike, you're going to come around and you're going to flip the brake lever, right? It's a quick release. Shimano, it's a lever here. SRAM has one that's rotating, and Campanolo has one that's up on the front levers. So you want to open this up so you can get the thing off, right? Once we've done that, we're going to come down here to the quick release. Let me tilt the bike a little bit. This is in my preferred position. It's a little bit protected. I don't like it hanging out here in case a stone hits it or something like that. I kind of like it in here in this triangle. I'll flip this open. Off comes the wheel. And you can see how much slack chain I've got. That helped me a lot. Let's put the bike down. And let's talk about how to change this tire. I want you to know that the cog set is on here with a central screw. They're not coming off. You don't have to worry about that. The quick release lever, right? You don't have to unscrew it. That's what the quick release is all about. So that loosens and tightens with the toggle over here, right? All right, let's get down to this tire. Here's what we're going to do. Valve stem cap comes off. A lot of times, this valve stem will be threaded and there will be a little nut here. You're just going to unscrew that nut, right? We are going to unscrew the valve stem and make sure we've got all the air out of here. All right, we're going to reach for our tire levers, which we're carrying in our saddlebag. And we're going to throw a tire lever right in here. And what I've done is I've pulled the tire away from the rim. This lever has a lip on it. That lip we're going to use to reach under here, pull up the tire. And these have a lock on them, so you can lock it to the spoke, right? You're off the rim, take a second tire lever. We're just going to slide right around, and this is just going to come right off. See how easily that comes off? We're lifting it right up over the rim. Okay? Now, here's a little trick. You can see, and this is how you always want to do this, the tire's been installed so that the tire manufacturer logo is at the valve stem, right? We do that for a reason, right? That way, you've got something that helps you gauge what's happening in the tube. So I'm going to actually look at this tire and look around it. I'm running my finger under it lightly, but I'm looking at the outside of the tire, and I'm looking for a thorn or a piece of glass or a rock or something that has sliced through this tire. Right? And I'm doing it carefully because if it's sticking through the other side, I want to come out with, you know, the 3 fingers that I have stuck in there, and I want to come out with no blood. So I'm looking now. Here's why it's important where that logo is relative to the valve stem. Say I've got an injury in the tire right here, okay? I'm going to look for my valve stem, and I'm going to say, okay, that's maybe, because it's 2 feet, it's maybe 2 feet from the valve stem is where I'm going to find the injury to the tube. So when I pull the tube out, which I'm going to do right now, right. 24 inches, 24 inches. I'm going to look for an injury here, okay? In case I'm carrying a patch kit, I can patch it. Typically, I don't carry a patch kit. I leave that at home. I'm going to roll this thing up, get the air out of it, and put it back in my pocket or back in the little satchel that I use to carry my spare tube and get the air out of there. Okay. Don't worry about that down the road. Got a new tube. This is a tube that has been wrapped in saran wrap, coated with talcum first. I do that for a couple reasons. If it's a 107-degree day in August, I want this to not stick when I unwrap it. Also, the talcum keeps it from sticking once you put it back inside the tire. Let's pretend we have a gash in a tire. So we're going to put a bill up under there between the tire and the tube, right, so that the tube doesn't squirt out through that gash when we put air in. So I've folded this into quarters. I'm going to lay it right there. And when I get to that, you'll see how I tuck the tube in around it. Tube goes in, valve stem through. Now, if you've got a tube that's threaded and came with a nut, if you want to put that nut on, please do so loosely. It's so easy. You're excited, you've got a little adrenaline pumping to crank down on that nut and pull the valve stem right through the rim and put a hole in your tube. Don't want to do that. We're going to put the tube in. We're going to go around, and if you've ever done fancy pastry, this is about the same thing. We're just going to tuck that tube in, and here you can see that it's going in with the $5 bill behind it. We used to use a $1 bill, but that's inflation. Tuck this thing in. You'll also notice that there's a little bit of air in the tube. It just makes the tube easier to handle. It helps the tube seat itself under the rim so that you don't pinch the tube between the tire and the rim when you put the tire back on, okay? Got a little bit of air in here. Now I'm going to go around with my hands, and I am just going to press this tire back into the rim. I'm starting kind of away from the stem. I like to finish at the stem. And as I'm doing this, you'll see I want to make sure that my tube doesn't get pinched. No pinches, no twists. You can see I'm pushing my hand up underneath the tire to get the tube seated. going to bring this right up. And so here I am, and this is where, depending on the tire and the rim, this can get real difficult. You're going to make sure that you don't have any tube squeezing through here, and you're just going to roll this back a little bit at a time until you get that. Go around it once. I use my hands. I feel to make sure that I don't feel any tube squeezing out of any tire anywhere. And we're going to end up right back here where we've got a logo at the valve stem. I'm going to inflate this with a CO2 inflator. This one is double valved. This is Presta, this is a Presta style valve. The other valve style, which you're used to seeing on your car, is a Schrader style valve. You see that more on mountain bikes than you see it on road bikes, although pretty much everybody's moving to Presta these days. I've got a CO2 cartridge here. I've got a pump that I like a lot because it takes CO2 cartridge, but if you're unfortunate enough to get multiple flats, you can also use this thing and pump air through it, okay? So, we are going to, got my hand, because this valve stem doesn't have a nut, I've got my thumb above the valve, and I'm pushing the pump on, and I'm going to screw this CO2 cartridge in, and it's going to puncture, and then I'm going to back it off about a half turn, and it's going to release the gas. Now, you want to be careful and hold this towards the back. Sometimes they come with a foam sleeve. I tend to throw the foam sleeves out. You don't want to touch it up front because it gets really cold, and you know, it's like Christmas Story. It will stick to you because it gets that cold. Okay, so I'm going to turn this in, and it's going to puncture, and I'm going to back it off just a little bit. And voila. Okay, so let's put this wheel back on the bike. Now you'll remember that we did this in the small ring and the small cog, and I do that so that I can do this. I'm going to lay that small cog right onto the chain. So now I'm good to go. I'm going to bring this up through the chain, and I am into the dropouts. That's simple. I do it with the bike this way so I can use the weight of the bike to drive the quick release skewer into the place it's supposed to be. If you have the bike turned over on its handlebars, make sure that you put the bike back, tire on the ground, so that you know that the wheel is all the way in the back of the dropouts, the thing's in the position it needs to be in. Otherwise, it's not going to shift well for you for the rest of your ride. Let's make sure that tighten this up just a little bit. Put our quick release skewer back in the locked position. Bring our brake lever back down. Wheels back on the bike. Chains on the cogs. One thing we know is going to happen is that it's got to find the cog that the shift lever's in. So before you jump on the bike and put your body weight onto it, just pick the bike up, turn the crank, let it get into the gear that it wants to be in. Okay? And now you can get up, ride your bike, go finish your ride. That's pretty much it. If you need to review these, stop into your authorized Cannondale dealer and they'll help you do this. I think that since you're about to go on a multi-day, multi-mile ride, you probably want to practice this once or twice so that if it happens to you, and it's likely to happen to you over a multi-day ride, you're prepared and you know what to do. If it happens in the front, it's the exact same procedure. You don't have to worry about where the chains and where the chain is relative to the cog and the chain ring. That's it. Thanks for watching.